Well, hello! I'd like to welcome you to another exciting episode of Pens in Use. And I hope the excitement lives up to the excitement of my evening, because I came home to find 6 police cars waiting out front of the house. So, we'll dive into that story too. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, what's the most police cars you've found out front of your house at 5 o'clock in the evening? Let us know down in the comments. So, I'm going to talk about some pens, and we're going to address the great Parker/Pevdi controversy, and perhaps we'll talk about some police cars. So let's dive into the pens. So this evening, hasn't appeared on the channel in a while, so I thought it was time. I have my Nakaya Decapod twist. I learned a bit more about this pen, so this is a Esterbrook J Transitional pen. I guess it doesn't need to be straight anymore. This is just a plain old Esterbrook J. Doesn't that look finished? Just look nice. Here is an Esterbrook SJ, because it's short. There's also an LJ, which is slim, and then there's the ladies' pocket pen, which I don't have out right at the moment. A color you can't find for Kaweco Perkeo. Reform 1745. A Parker 45, which plays into the controversy we'll be addressing tonight. A video from earlier this week. I was calling it a Pevdi. And then 2 more pens, which I will discuss in a bit. And the box that the Pevdi came in, which I just realized has been upside down this whole time. So those are some pens that I've been using this week. I'll be doing my writing samples, as always, in the Bomo Art Journal. I was told recently that I'm getting a little too zoomed in on these, but I always try to zoom to about page width for my pens in use. My reviews, I get closer, but for these, page width. I'm starting this out with my Nakaya Decapod twist. I'm still kind of amazed that I bought this pen, and yet at the same time, every time I write with it, it just makes me happy. So I guess that's why we buy things. I think by now I've had the pen for over a year. I like my Platinum 3776 with the soft fine nib. But I find I use this pen a lot more. Of course, the difference is this pen doesn't leave the house. I will take the Platinum out for a walk once in a while. This is Pelikan, I think. Edelstein. No, it isn't. Is it? No, it is certainly not. Perish the thought. Sailor Gentle Epinard. I should be able to tell by the smell. I'll have to fix my video description. I am going to try emptying this pen out this time, and I'm going to ink it up with something different, just for a little variety. That Edelstein is one of the options on the table. Not that there's anything wrong with this ink, I just think this pen is such a good writer, it's a shame to just limit it to one ink. As pretty an ink as it is. I just like that dark spinach green color there. My next pen is a Transitional J, Esterbrook J, and maybe I'm a little close right now. There. Transitional J. How do I know it's transitional? Because there's no jewel on this finial. The other finial has a very decorative jewel, which you don't see on the newer ones. The ink in this one is Platinum Classic Cassis Black, I think. Has a 2968 nib for whatever that means. I don't seem to have it in my show notes. And I enjoy the classic inks from Platinum. Had a little misadventure with I forget which ink was in it, but I had a Saul's Conqueror. I think it was in was it in last week's? Yes. Saul's Conqueror. And anyway, it inked all over the inside of my pen case. So I wasn't super thrilled with that. Was that last night or this morning I discovered that? Anyway, way too recently. I was quite put out. This next pen is a regular Esterbrook J. You can tell because it has a jewel at each end, and it's not so decorative. This pen with this nib in it was a bugger to get it to start writing. I mean, a real bugger. And then all of a sudden, poof, it's like a dam inside of it broke, and now it's writing beautifully. So it has a 9048 nib, which is their flex nib. And the ink in it is Diamine, Autumn Oak. Although those autumn oak colors are definitely gone now that we've had snow on the ground and everything. I'm thinking as I look above at that Platinum Classic Cassis Black, I should talk about iron gall inks. I had a comment about using them in pens with steel nibs earlier this week, and it's a topic I think I'd like to address. So I need to remember when I say stuff like that. So when I edit this video, I will write that idea down, because I'll get to hear it again because I have to rewatch myself, as painful as it can be sometimes. My next pen is an Esterbrook SJ, which is the shorter and slimmer version of the J. Has the same finials, same nibs, they're all interchangeable. So I could take this nib off this pen and put it on the Esterbrook J. So this is an Esterbrook SJ. It was a 9314 fine, which is a relief nib. And the ink in it is Colorverse Interstellar Space. Very dark green. Again, I've said this before. I think of Interstellar Space as more of a black color. But what do I know? There is probably a very good reason why it's a very dark green instead of a black. I just don't know what that reason is. Then, my Kaweco Perkeo, with the cap from my garbage can pen and the barrel and section from a pen I was given. So there's one ugly looking pen out there with a hot pink cap and a garbage can colored barrel. Weirdly enough, none of my students took it, so it'll be in my giveaway again next time I do one. So this is a Kaweco Perkeo. Has a fine nib, and the ink in it is Platinum Classic Lavender Black. Which kind of goes with the hot pink trim rings. Alright, my Reform 1745, one of the first two vintage pens I ever bought. The other one being my Kaweco V14S, which I like very much. This pen doesn't come out as often. I like it, I just like the Kaweco a lot more. Whoops, 1745. I don't really have a nib size for it, although it looks reasonably medium or fine. And the ink in it is another platinum. And this platinum is the Platinum Classic Forest Black. And there ends my currently inked pens. But wait, you say, weren't there more? Yes. So this week I finally uploaded, after 2 weeks of missing it, finally uploaded my first impressions of this pen. This is a Pevdi. How do I know? Because it arrived in this box and was sold as a Pevdi. But I had some suggestions that it might be a Parker. And one of the reasons the suggestion came about is, Parker converter. Which could have been picked up anywhere. I was kind of leaning the Pevdi direction because it just sort of some goofy dealios like that just don't seem up to Parker's standards. Plus, it was pretty clearly a steel nib. Well, it turns out Parker did make some steel nib 45s. This is a real 45. This is a Parker 45. It actually is branded Parker, made in the USA. The air quotes Pevdi has no branding on it. Open it up. Same kind of deal. Converter in it. And, I should have remembered this. Same loose trim ring. I'd forgotten about that. This one has a more modern converter in it, which is fine. The part I'm interested in is the nib. Because converters, I've got Rotring converters and Pelikans and all kinds of them just switching around. A part that doesn't switch around as often is a nib. So I'm going to unscrew the nib unit here. It just unscrews like this. This is an extra fine nib unit. And you're left with the feed attached to a collar and the nib. And what's this? Yes, I can push the collar up, and you can see some of those nooks and crannies where ink hides when you're trying to clean a pen. But the important thing here, look at the branding on it. This is a Parker, made in USA, 585. This is a gold nib. Did that say 585? 14 karat, same thing. All right, let me just help you out here. I've experimented a bit with this, and through the magic of editing, I can edit out my misfires. Okay, 14 karat Parker, made in USA. So if this Pevdi is actually a Parker, we should have a Parker branded nib. Now, when you put this back, if you take the nib off, which I did not do, but if I were to take the nib off, make sure it slots back into those two slots on the feed, line up the collar, and whoop, down she goes. And they sold quite a number of different sizes of these nibs. Maybe something I need to add to my collection, I don't know. And we're back together. So if this Pevdi is a Pevdi, there should be no Parker branding on the nib. Like I said, converters, they switch around between pens. So this one is a fine. Unscrew it. A little water on it because I was literally washing it this week. I hate when people say literally, and I just did it. I was washing it this week, so it's not totally dried out yet. But anywho, drum roll. Push up the collar here. And it says Parker. We'll give you a look through the loop here. Yep, definitely says Parker. It doesn't have the other stuff, but that's because it's definitely, like I said, I was sure it was a steel nib long before anybody suggested it was a Parker 45 to me. So, it apparently, what I have here, as I try to slip the collar back in place, this one doesn't go on as easily, but apparently what I have here is a counterfeit Pevdi. I did not realize this, but Parker apparently was in the business of counterfeiting Pevdi pens. Who knew? Of course, I'm joking about that. I think what happened because, you know, seriously, who counterfeits Pevdis? Not a slight against Pevdi. It just, I mean, that's not much of a market except for weirdos like me. So what I think happened is somebody was cleaning out maybe a parent's house, a relative's house, somebody else's house, maybe had a flea market find, and this pen happened to be in a Pevdi box for whatever reason. And not knowing pens real well, they said, oh, it's a Pevdi pen. Not knowing it was a Parker 45, because they could have gotten more money for a Parker 45 than a Pevdi. And somebody else pointed this out. I didn't really mention it in my video, but the video description or video link is down below. But it definitely has what looks like a jotter on the Pevdi box, and I don't know what. Now you might have been saying to yourselves, dumbass! Look at the clip. Doesn't say Parker, but holy shit, I mean, holy golly, gee willikers, it does. I did not see that before. I could have saved myself a lot of idiotic humiliation. Let's see if I can do this, work this magic again. It was somewhere right around here. Just happened to spot it. Let me turn off this light. I don't know if it does much for the writing sample anyway. Yeah, Parker. This pen was obviously a well-used pen, and that is so worn out, I never saw that before. I don't see... Oh, I see a Parker symbol that I can barely make out on the back. And so I think that's exciting. This is a pen that was loved and used. Yeah, I'm not finding it there anymore. But, you know, has been worn out through that use. And probably from Eastern Europe, judging by the address that it came from. But it's a Parker 45. Okay, now I remember why I started using this overhead light. It helps improve the shadows. So, I was wrong. This is a Parker 45, not a Pevdi. Now, you might be saying, well, dumbass, look at the clip, which is where I was going when I noticed that Parker logo I hadn't noticed before. This has a Parker clip. This is not a Parker. And was not sold as one. This is also a Hungarian pen. Also very clearly modeled after the Parker 45. I mean, seriously. This is like what some of the Chinese pens do with when they model after certain other Parkers. Now, nib doesn't unscrew. It's a piston filler, and not a very good piston at that. I can't remember if this is one of the pens I have to clean out. I think it might be. So, yeah, this will be reviewed eventually. Don't expect to see it writing tonight. But, oh, yeah, and I just remembered it needs a little nib work. But my point is, that's why I was misled. And Pevdi and Pax have some sort of a relationship. I just don't know what it is. And just for the sake of completeness, I have my Moonman, which was given to me. I don't remember the model off the top of my head, but I could look it up. Which also has an arrow clip that is somewhat simpler. This will be another first impression I'm filming eventually. And the nib, same as a 45. Except, unlike the Pax, it unscrews. The collar pushes up. And I just dropped the nib. Very similar feed. But when I look on the nib, which is so tiny in these pens, no branding at all. Make of that what you will. So I am curious to write with this Moonman. I just have to ink it up and film a first impression when I do so. And at some point, I want to do a video on Parker 45 clones, but I had some comments from another YouTuber, ODE, who has also been considering a similar video, and he has a much more extensive collection of Parker 45 clones, so I hope he does it soon so I can see it. Another thing I'm noticing here is you can see the breather hole just a bit, for whatever that's worth. So, like I said, the Pax isn't ready. It needs work yet. But now I really just want to compare two 45s. And I know this makes it not a scientific comparison, but I'm going to use two violet inks to do so. I'm going to use the Pelikan 4001 violet and Califolio violet. I will put the Pelikan violet in my well-known Parker 45. So it is a fills by converter. And we'll fill the other 45 with Califolio violet. And I was surprised when I looked at that Pelikan violet. That's much lower level than I would have expected. So apparently I've been using the stuff. So this one takes a minute for the sack to pop back out as it fills. I discovered with my last ink I had in this that it has a tendency to dry out overnight. But when I cleaned it out this time, I also took it apart, not down to the nib level, just, I did unscrew the nib, and I discovered it was full of ink, that blue ink that had not cleaned out yet. So I think I didn't do an ultrasonic cleaner or anything, but I think I have it a lot more cleaned out. So let's see what we get here. So the Parker 45 with the extra fine nib. And apparently not as cleaned out as I thought it was. X is what they have written on the back. That's how Parker denoted their extra fines. Parker 45. Ugh. Well, we're not comparing violets tonight. We're looking at what a horrible job I did cleaning out this pen. This is Pelikan 4001 Violet. So it's actually a mix of violet and whatever was in here that didn't get cleaned out properly last time. I don't know how that happened. I'm usually a lot better than that about cleaning out pens. And I don't know what ink I had in it before, but yipe! That's not violet. And then this, the pen formerly known as a Pevdi. Yeah, I can see there's still some of that blue in it. So maybe that's a fault of the 45 design, I don't know. It seems to go on, I don't know if I've noticed this before with this ink, it seems to go on a bit reddish. Oops. And then it dries to whatever you call that color. I just am a little curious. Let me go back a couple of pages. I don't know exactly the last time I wrote with these inks. But hey, luckily for you, I can edit out when I go searching back. Okay, Califolio Violet in a arrow mottled purple and black. That's looking pretty similar. I know it's been even longer since I've used the Pelikan Violet. Huh. Here, oh, never mind. Same pen, same ink. There we go. Selector that had a Pelikan 4001 Violet in it back when I was still on summer vacation. Yeah. Can you tell? Oops. Let me zoom out just a bit. That versus that. Yep, something is in this. When I last wrote with the 45, I couldn't exactly tell you. So those are the pens and inks that I've been using this week, and you also got to take a glance at my apparent lack of pen hygiene with the Parker 45. So I may, after these fills run through, I may give both pens actually a little visit to the ultrasonic cleaner. I don't like using the ultrasonic cleaner, but sometimes that's just necessary to truly clean out a pen, which apparently is necessary in this case. So I've told you the most exciting thing about today. You've seen the pens. I don't know if there's anything else really to talk about, or except maybe the 6 police cars. So this isn't really a happy story, but I guess it had nothing to do with me, so that's good. I have a neighbor who has some problems, and anyway, there were some illegal I believe, some chemicals involved because there was a dog brought into the house, and a person, one of the people that lives in the house, was taken out in handcuffs. These are people who are older than me, so it's really sad to see. But that's why I didn't start filming right away when I got home. I was being nosy, I'll just be honest. And then after that, I was just kind of not in that right place emotionally to sit down and film a pen video. Plus, I thought, turn on all the bright lights and the police are over there looking. They're going to say, oh, what's he growing in there? So I thought we'll just wait till it actually expanded to 8 police cars before it was all over. We had the sheriff here, we had the city police, we had the state highway patrol. I don't know if there was any law enforcement anywhere else in the county. I mean, I've told you this is rural. I live in the city of this county. We're the largest city with 1,500 people. So scale that to a whole county, and yeah, you've got the idea. All the law enforcement was right in front of my house. So it was a good night to commit crimes elsewhere in the county, I guess. But it is sad. I know there has been trouble over there, and I hope they can get through it. But anyway, that's kind of a downer ending. But I just look at what chemicals can do to people, and I don't know if there's really a one-size-fits-all answer. I've heard a lot of different suggestions out there, all the way from the really hardcore, put them all in jail, to the, well, let's legalize. And I don't know what the answer is. I'll just be honest. But I do know that people need help, and sometimes problems simmer under the surface that aren't always visible, and people don't get the help they need, so they self-medicate. So I don't know what the situation is. I'm hoping it turns out all right, but yeah, that's where that's at. So 6 police cars. In other news, I've haven't live streamed in the past couple of weeks. I just haven't been recording at a time when it would have been convenient. The other thing is, I definitely got some pushback on the live streaming. I don't want to end live streaming, but people didn't like their shows being preempted by live streaming. So what I'm thinking about, and maybe you can have some suggestions down in the comments, I'm thinking about creating a show, maybe not a weekly one, because I don't know, 3 shows a week is kind of my max at the moment. Unless I can get some videos ahead, which I'm kind of there. Although, as you saw these past 2 weeks, just because they're filmed doesn't mean they're getting edited. So that's another one of my goals this week, is to edit a few videos ahead. But if you have some ideas about a possible show, one thought I had tonight, I used to do every so often these pen rodeos, is what I called them, where I just compare a bunch of different pens. And I haven't really done that in a long time. In fact, my most recent one was the Parker. Well, yeah, I think they were both live streams, weren't they? Because I did a Parker Sonnet and it's a counterfeit, and I did a Parker 51 clones video. So I'm wondering if that might be something I could do with live streaming. Some people like the videos where I just talked. I was always uncomfortable with them, mainly because I just feel like you gotta come into it with a topic and a plan. Even if you don't stick with the plan, it's a lot better to start with a plan. So I've been thinking about it a lot. The nice thing, this camera that I purchased does my face, it does the writing samples. Worst case scenario, if this live streaming thing fails, I take it to school and use it there. But I think there's potential for live streaming. It's a different way to build community, and I'd like to do more of these type of videos as premieres, because the people who don't like live streaming won't be bothered. It'll still have the chat down the side, but it's not a live stream. It's filmed as a regular recorded video, and then we just converse later. So, but I am thinking about a show where I live stream, maybe twice a month or something. So, I don't know. I would welcome your thoughts on that. I also want to get some of those driving videos done. I have a few ideas written down. I want to get started filming with that organizational series. So I'm thinking next week with Thanksgiving break, I'll get a few more pen videos filmed, and then I might film the first few of those. I might wait to upload them till I've got enough that I can just be sure I'm going to regularly upload. But anyway, this is. It sounds like sometimes I overwhelm myself, but this is kind of one of my creative outlets, and I don't know. It's something different to do after a bad day at school. I actually had a very good day at school today, to be honest. I had my STEM kids programming. I had a few of them really race ahead with it because we're doing Arduinos again, and they're just learning how to do variables and control lights with the Arduinos. And a couple of them took off, and they saw my next challenge was to have at least 6 different lights blink in some kind of a pattern. And yeah, a few of them really took off with that. You got a few that are just like, oh, I keep getting errors. It's like, okay, put semicolons at the end of your commands, dude. A few of that, which is normal. That's part of teaching. If they didn't know how to do stuff, or if they knew how to do everything, I wouldn't have a job. So, but yeah, very good day of teaching. So, I think I would have probably raved about the Arduinos tonight if it hadn't been for the 6 police cars. So, anyway, that's my life. I want to thank you for watching. It just still amazes me that a guy living in a small town of 1,500 in really rural North Dakota has an audience all over the world that's large enough to have people with different opinions on his videos. So I want to thank you for tuning in. So if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And please leave your comments down below if you have any ideas about what could be a regular live stream show. Sort of a basic theme. We all know live streams go off topic, worse than Pens and Use does. I'd love for you to let me know in the comments about that too. And as always, I want to thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.